James Mercer Langston Hughes was born on February 1st, 1902 in Joplin, Missouri. Hughes's parents separated soon after his birth, and his mother and grandmother raised him. It was Hughes's grandmother, a great storyteller, who transferred to him her love for literature and the importance of becoming educated. In 1914, Langston Hughes moved to Lincoln, Illinois, to live with his mother and her new husband. It was here he started writing poetry. He wrote his first poem in the 8th grade, and a year later, the family relocated to Cleveland, Ohio. After high school, Hughes traveled to Mexico, Europe, and Africa, sometimes by working on freighters. By 1924, he had settled in Harlem, New York, where he was an important figure during the Harlem Renaissance, which was an African-American cultural movement that focused on literature, music, theater, art, and politics. Langston Hughes wrote from 1926 to 1967. In that time, he wrote more than 60 books, including poems, novels, short stories, plays, children's poetry, musicals, operas, and autobiographies. He was the first African American to support himself as a writer, writing from his own experience. Hughes died on May 22, 1967 in New York, New York. In February 2002, the U.S. Postal Service issued a commemorative stamp honoring Langston Hughes. This stamp was the 25th in the Black Heritage series and marked Hughes's 100th birthday. As we celebrate Black History Month, here are 2 literary works by Langston Hughes.
Every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day.
Y'all the best media team ever, kids.
Really best media team.
You ever thought we would be here in 12 years, the way we're right now? Huh?
Not at all.
Not at all.
12 years, 3 kids later.
So what is your favorite thing you like about your marriage?
My favorite thing I like about our marriage, Adria, is I love how even when it's tough, even when we frustrated about something in life or tackling life together, we still find ways to laugh and we still find ways to joke with each other. To the point where sometimes we know how to make each other laugh, but we still gotta drive home the point. Like someone's still trying to say, no, this is important, but someone will laugh. For example, Mom loves to laugh deep down inside. She got that hood side of her. She went to LR, I went to District 5. I'm joking. But the point is, like, when I'm mad, sometimes I'm frustrated about something, I'm driving home a point, or I'm just asserting something, she will like laugh at me basically because I'm sounding funny in her head. So yeah.
It's not just that, but like I said, because we know, I love that we know how to have fun, we know how to laugh. But sometimes he may not know it, but sometimes I can look at the corner of his mouth. And so that's why I end up laughing, because sometimes if he's driving home a point and he's like, it's like a little quirky thing of his mouth, I think he's about to laugh. And sometimes I miss the mark on that, so I'll laugh and he gets mad. But I just love that we know how to have fun, and at the same time, I guess we find the joy in stuff, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
What was your favorite date you had?
Favorite date I would have to say would be when we went to Carowinds. Both times once when we were dating, and then we went again. It was like a spontaneous trip. We were up in Charlotte for something. I think he had a speaking engagement.
She likes a lot of spontaneous stuff, y'all.
Yeah, so he was like, hey, let's go to Carowinds, because we were already up there. It was funny because you can tell we weren't playing for it because I didn't have any shoes, like tennis shoes. I didn't pack any tennis shoes. I had like some type of flats that I would never wear to an amusement park, but it worked out because
you did flats.
Yeah. So it happened to be the opening day of Carowinds too, so it was pretty fun. I like when we go do adventurous stuff like that. So that was one of
See, she likes that, and I like it too because I love when she enjoys stuff. But it's a lot of work for me. The biggest thing I like, if I had to be selfish, even though I'm a giver, probably be the times I have mommy all to myself. Like, you know, I love y'all as kids. I love y'all in my life, but there's times where God allows us to have fun with each other, have it all to myself, and I'm able to control the schedule and go on adventures and do whatever I want and take her to different places. And then she usually ends up hungry or tired, and the night usually gets ruined. It doesn't get ruined, but it usually comes to an end. But I like taking the world, you know, like Bobby Clyde stuff, like you know, like Will Smith, Jada Pinkett stuff, like, well, probably a bad example, entanglement. But what I mean is like just taking over, fine dining to different places to go, lounges, just dropping by different places, restaurants, shops, stores, and just being in the moment. Like our anniversary we did in Asheville was pretty dope because I was able to take her around different places. We went to the mountains and it was snowing, and a park ranger turned us around because there was ice on the mountain, but we made it through. Did I have a truck? I had the truck, right? I had the Tundra. Yeah, I had the Tundra. Yeah, I had the Tundra in Asheville. I did.
Yeah, you did.
I had the Tundra. So we did that adventure. We did so much stuff. So stuff like that when she's like, no, we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't. I'm like, nah, we are. You know, that type of stuff. So that's my favorite.
Is marriage sometimes hard for you?
Is marriage sometimes hard for Adria?
Yes.
See, it's her. I'm trying my best, guys.
It is hard. Sometimes it's not because of the other person, but sometimes you may clash sometimes.
This is
just
humans,
from,
though.
Yes,
Yeah.
humans. Yes, different perspectives and stuff like that, and I think it's just like, you know, how siblings, they argue, and sometimes they, it's not because they don't love each other. You know, we have our moments of disagreements and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, we still love each other, and we still find a way to work it out. So
I would say marriage is harder if you live your marriage comparing your marriage to others and comparing what's fun to others for fun to you. Right. For example, we're having a pandemic date with our family because it's a different season. We're eating some good food in a little bit. We still have some special moments together, but God gave us an idea to celebrate as a family our anniversary during this pandemic time. And to be honest with you all, I wouldn't take this for granted worth nothing. Our kids get a chance to interview us, their own marriage questions. So my point is, marriage is hard when you make your marriage what it's not supposed to be. I realize that every marriage is different. You got to create your own rules. Just something that frustrates my homeboy, I don't have to make be something that frustrates me. Something that I read and see on television that I think is what's right for me. It doesn't need to be right for me unless my own convictions. So I believe marriage is supposed to be birthed out of convictions. And I realize that it's two people joining to be one, but learning each other and meeting the needs of each other and learning to satisfy each other's desires at the same time. So marriage can be hard if you take moments outside of your marriage and make it about people who are in your marriage and make it about those type of things. That's when marriage is hard. So yeah.
I concur.
She liked my answer, that's why she
I
like,
did.
okay.
Like,
because I'm teaching her at the same time.
I did like
that's what you gotta do, fellas. You gotta lead. You gotta lead through your voice and lead through casting vision. I'm learning to do that in this this marriage. So yeah.
Alright, so it's your boy John J. Sims. I don't really get on here that much, but one of my friends gave me this idea, was like, Valentine's Day is coming up. We should talk about, a brief summary of like how to get over heartbreak. And I feel like that's like a real good topic to do because a lot of people don't really like talk about it like that. So, and I've been through that type of stuff, so I feel like this is probably like good practical wisdom that a lot of people might not just necessarily think about, but hopefully it helps you and helps you get over it if you are going through heartbreak. Or if you've been through it, hopefully these steps will help and maybe they'll resonate with you. And I wrote down like 6 things here, so I'm gonna go ahead and get into it. The first thing is you want to admit that you were heartbroken. So like a lot of times, like we have, like I feel like we have two different types of perceptions. A lot of times you have one person that's all the way on one side of the spectrum, and they just hit denial, right? They're like, nah, I'm straight, bro. I ain't get hurt. I'm good. I don't care about that girl. And really, you in denial. Like, you got hurt, but it's okay. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not the end of the world, but everybody gets hurt. Everybody gets curved. You know, I feel like even when it comes to being curved, I feel like everybody in our society has this big thing about, oh, dang, you got curved. I don't want to get curved. But everybody gets curved. I mean, I'm gonna go even deeper from another perspective. Even when you think about marriage, like if you look at any couple that's been married for like 10 years or longer, at some point or another, they curve one another. Because another term for curve is, I'm not feeling you, or I'm not feeling that person right now. You know what I mean? Like, so in a marriage, if they didn't know how to like handle when the other spouse wasn't into them at that moment, then it would be a divorce. But if any marriage got some real thing, you know, real time into it, then at some point or another, they've curved each other. You know what I mean? So first off, that's a whole nother spill, but take the stigma off of that. But, you know, so the first step, back to my first step, you know, is admit that you were heartbroken. You know, if you were heartbroken, it's okay. Life goes on. You know what I mean? You don't want to be in denial, because when you're in denial, you're going to end up spilling those emotions out some other kind of way on somebody else, whether your next relationship or the next person you get to know, or you're going to have an adverse reaction. And it's going to be because you never dealt with the fact that you got heartbroken. And how many dudes, or not even just dudes, females, you know, y'all admit, or both parties will admit that sometimes, like, oh, nah, I'm good, I'm straight. Just admit it. Don't be in denial about that. That's number one. Second thing I had was, don't overthink it. On the other side of the spectrum, you got one side where people are like always like in denial. On the other side, you got people that are sitting it too long. And when you sit in it too long, that means you're overthinking it. You're constantly replaying that heartbreak all the time. You're like, well, they did this or they did that. You know, what could I have done better? What could I have done this? Now you're overthinking it. You're sitting in it too much. And it's like you're constantly picking at a scab that won't heal. You know what I mean? Or you're constantly reopening that wound because you keep overthinking and replaying the arguments or replaying what it felt like when you felt rejected. You know what I mean? So that's number two. Don't overthink it. The third thing is, and this is where the balance comes in. You want to process your emotions. You know, the first one was don't be in denial. The second one was don't overthink it. But the third one, you do want to process. You want to process your emotions in a healthy way. That means that you want to go to God about them. Go to God about them, or go to a therapist about them. You know, it's okay. Just make sure that you do that and that you admit, like, okay, this hurt. And then you can find out why it hurt. You can find out what caused it to hurt so much. And also, journaling helps out a whole lot. Like if you're a writer, or whether you write music or whatever you do, use that as an outlet to help process the emotions that you felt when you got rejected and when you felt like that relationship didn't work out. Another thing is that this is number 4. This is important. Process in private. Process in private. Do not put all of your emotions out there on the person that you feel like rejected you. Now you're giving them more authority to hurt you again, and you're putting way too much emotional influence on their yes or their no of you, and you're putting your self-esteem really rooted in their response. And so one of the examples I have about that is, like, say if you were like in school, right, and you took a test, and in your heart, you know, all your answers was right. You go to one teacher and they tell you that all your answers are wrong, and now you're depressed. You go to a substitute teacher, they say all the answers are right, and now you're on top of the world. Well, if you're in your heart, you knew that you had every answer right to begin with, neither teacher would have the authority to tell you what was right or wrong, because you know exactly what your answers were. Well, you need to treat your self-esteem the same way. I mean, it's okay to desire someone, but don't be dependent on their yes or no of you. Their yes or no of you does not change who God made you to be. It doesn't change who you are internally. So to be honest, if that yes or that no caused you to spiral into such an emotional distraction so much, you got to think about, if they said a yes and you got into a relationship with that posture, now their yes, which your self-esteem was rooted in, is going to be the same thing that you're constantly jumping through hoops to make sure that their yes is you're reaching their approval throughout the whole relationship. And that would have been dysfunctional for you. So if this no actually caused you to spiral out of control so much, you should look at what it revealed in your posture and about yourself, that you weren't ready to really jump into a relationship anyway. You should look at yourself and be able to allow God to reveal things in you about why that yes would have meant so much to you. Because that's the real thing you want to look at. You want to look at your internal posture, your internal self-esteem, so that you can look at it and say, you know what, that shouldn't have caused me to spiral out of control like that. You know what I mean? So you want to look at that and really process your emotions privately. You know, whether go to God about it, go to a therapist about it. But don't put all of your emotions out there and hit that person up through text and call about how that made you feel and all that. You're giving them too much emotional authority over your life, and they're not ready to handle all that. Nor should they ever have to handle all that. The next thing, the fifth one, and I kind of went into this already, is identify where your self-esteem lies. If they know sent you into an emotional spiral, then that means probably your self-esteem was rooted in their yes or no. And like I said before, if you would have gotten to that relationship, you would have been jumping through hoops hoping that their approval is what kept the relationship together throughout the whole relationship, and you would have been in a really emotional, dysfunctional state. You need to identify why that made you, why the yes or no made you feel that way, and kind of go to God and really ask what it is you need to be, what it is that you're insecure in yourself about, so that can be rectified. Because an emotional, healthy person doesn't go into a relationship depending on someone else's yes or no to make them feel secure about themselves. The last thing is number 6. You need to, after you've done all those things, move on and live your life. You got to enjoy your life. You got to enjoy your life. You got to hang out with your friends, do the things that deliberately please you. You know what I mean? Life goes on. Handle your business. If you have a business, take care of that. If you want to extend your career, take care of those goals. Work on your financial improvement. Work on your physical improvement. Work out. Eat better. You know, do things that you know will boost up your self-esteem mentally, emotionally, physically, and remind yourself of who you are every day, and allow God to remind you who you are. You know what I mean? Like, so hopefully, and realize at the end of the day, you know, God validates you, not another person's yes or no. It's good to esteem people. It's good to desire people, but never put your validation in other people. Allow God to validate you. Allow God to remind you of who you are. You know what I mean? And so hopefully this helped out a lot of people. You know what I mean? I don't know when you want to be looking at this, maybe before or after, you know, happy Valentine's Day. You know what I mean? Like, go out there, be your best version of yourself, you know, enjoy yourself, and you know what I'm saying? Hope this helped you out. Peace.
How do you ask God about relationships?
Like, I'd say just to ask them, you know, just say how you feel, or just say, you know, whatever question you want to ask. Because I know sometimes we're like, okay, well, we want to ask in the right way, or whatever the case may be. But sometimes when we do that, we second guess ourselves and what to ask and how to ask and all sort of stuff, and we end up overcomplicating him. So I just say, just ask and say, God, what do you think is best for me, or who should I be involved with, or whatever the case may be. What do you want me to be involved right now, or what do you want me to focus on? So I think just come out and ask them.
Get in a relationship and they start liking somebody, their feelings get heavy, and then they ask. And I would just say, ask before you get heavy like that, because you really don't like to stop being you don't like to stop being with a person if you ask midway through, you know. So
for your friends, ask God about them as well. If there's someone you're like, I can see us vibing together, ask God if that's supposed to be someone who's close in your life. Because I've had more heartaches from people who I've called friends than romantic relationships. So to guard your heart in that aspect too.
Hey y'all, welcome once again to our Quarantine Love Valentine's Day special. So we're currently just in the Q&A session. So we're just gonna go ahead and welcome you again, and we're gonna continue with our Q&A session.
What can I do to have a better relationship with the people around me?
I would say something I always ask God to do instead of it's easier for us to ask God to show people they're wrong, but ask God to show you. So that way, because a lot of times we try to change people and we really can't change people. The person we can change most is ourselves. So it's important to ask God, what is it about me? Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, ask God to show you. So that way you can sometimes adjust to what's around you, because a lot of times what we have around us is because of how we act or how we respond. So, yeah.
Along with what Kiana said is really important. I think she said something like, about yourself. First thing I say is, how can I have a better relationship with other people around me? Think about when I was young. I wish I had a better relationship with myself. That's what I wish. So if I had a better relationship with who I was and I wasn't too busy trying to be cool, I could have had more truer and richer relationships. For example, I didn't have real relationships as far as in school, outside of my relationships in church. Those were always real relationships because we had a God factor involved. But when I go back to Dutchford High School and compare my journey at Dutchford High School to my college, North Green University, I had more meaningful relationships at North Green University than I did when I was in high school. And the main reason why is I was so busy trying to fit in and be cool in high school. And so I usually only hung out with people who liked similar things I liked. in high school. So if they like wrestling, they were cool. If they like Dragon Ball Z, you immediately were cool. But that's a problem because the word cool is a key to someone's heart as a young person.
Do you feel like without communication, then you can still, I guess, function? Or do you feel like without y'all communicating, you'll just fall apart?
I think that's the key part to anything. Once you don't have communication in anything, that's where a lot of things can alter as far as like your whole relationship. So because you're not communicating and because you're not speaking how you feel or your truth, then that's where the communication can be cut. So I think that's a valid part in having communication, is to make sure you communicate, because it's very, very important.
We don't want to make each other upset, even if we're being honest about our feelings. So early on, it was oh, I'm upset, I'm not going to talk about it. And then it goes a week, and then it's like, oh, why are you side-eyeing me? And it's like, you don't talk about it. So it festers and it festers and it builds and it builds. And it's like a volcano. It's like, pew! And it's like, whoa, you could have told me this a month ago.
Right.
And talk about it. So I say in any relationship, whether that's with your parents or with your friends, like Cammie and BC said, communication really is key, because in the smallest things, if you don't communicate, it can build into other areas of that relationship. So just being honest and open, talking things out, not being afraid to talk things out. If they're your friend, you should have that level of trust to communicate freely.
And you're going to grow up and you're going to have friends in your life where you know they're one phone call away and you don't even talk to them every day. I have people in my life right now that I know, at least on my trust. That's because that's how I roll. That's how I roll. And I don't require it from those other individuals. It's like a silent trust. This might even be dysfunctional, but this is just, you just asked the question, so I'm just going to share it. But I just trust and know, like, this person has my back. I know that if something happened, they're going to be right here. And I believe that sort of somehow brings that relationship to where it needs to go. So that helps my relationship and affects my relationships the most. And when it comes to like values and care and keeping them close is the deep trust. You're going to have people in your life who are going to make mistakes. And we are in a cancel culture. And this cancel culture didn't show up with just our celebrities. I saw it. We saw it as youth workers in y'all's generation, how quick y'all were ready to like end relationships. We're not even talking about dating relationships. Mm-hmm. Like we had problems. My relationship, me and Rashawn's generation, we will fight you and still be your boy right after in the very next week. So like fist fight all the time. Think about Shamari, think about homeboys. They got in fights in the locker room, bloody and everything, but don't no one else punch him in the face. You're gonna have a problem. That's my face to punch. Like Rashawn be like, I punched Chandler at Rage, but you can't punch Chandler at Rage. You know what I'm saying, Sean? Like I can run up on Chandler, but you can't run up on Chandler. Like it's weird. I'm not saying it was right, but that's the other side of trust.
You just sent me to a whole other mental space.
Hey, PC, I want to comment on that too. I think part of the difference between your generation versus the newer generation is, I think, like you said, it was easier for y'all not to cancel each other because I think y'all went through more together. Like, I think part of the new generation's issue is because of things like you said, text messages and social media and stuff like that. I think that's caused, as much as it's, I know they say they created social media to make us closer, I actually think it's caused the world to be a lot more split up and separated. And so I think that relationship, that's also affected relationships. I think they've become a lot thinner and not as thick per se. And they're not going through as much together. You know, it's like, you know, we go to school together and we friends on social media. So, we automatically friends in real life, but there's nothing y'all really been through together. And y'all's generation, like you said, y'all didn't have social media and all that. Like, if we was boys, we was really boys, you know what I'm saying? We was tight, we was really tight, you know? So that's why it wasn't so easy to cut a relationship off. And I think that's where the disconnect comes in. I think it's easier to cut relationships off in this generation because I don't think they've been through as much together. I don't think their foundation is as strong as y'all's. That's just something I thought about as you were talking.
Yeah. I think it was easy. It's easier for us to cut people off because we don't have the connection. Like y'all had connections.
Yeah.
We just have convenience for people. So we're just like, oh, they weren't adding to my life anyway. We weren't really friends. I don't really know her like that anyway. So it's easy to cut somebody off when you just their associate and you thought they were your friend.
Yeah, because I went into high school with a whole a whole group. But it's like once the years went by, I think because we were just in the same grade together, we just went to the same school, and we were just hanging out all the time. That's why we were friends. We weren't really friends because not just because we had things in common, but because we
knew each other.
Yeah, we were just friends because we knew each other, like just because we met. But I think y'all were actually friends because there was like a foundation. Like it wasn't just your parents. It was like they're an actual real person that you could have a connection with, and it was consistent on both parts. Because at this point, if I don't reach out to the people who I used to talk to, we just don't talk. But it's not like one of those relationships where it's like if we don't talk, then we're not friends. But it's like it's been like 3 years. So I think y'all had a solid, consistent foundation, and we don't really have that.
You don't take the time to make solid foundations anymore.
Yes, we don't take the time to make solid foundations. We just kind of go through stuff, be friends for 2 weeks, and end up sharing our whole life with these people, but they haven't really shown that they earned it.
I feel like when we meet people on social media or we meet people through a friend and we take that recommendation, we begin to make false depictions of people, of who we think that they are based on what they show us. Earlier when you said we don't have the time to build a firm foundation, I think that's because we don't care about making the time to build a firm foundation, because they're like, well, my friends is friends with this person, so I got to be cool with this person. I just met them, they seem cool, so they cool. Like, that's my homie, that's my friend, that's my bro. You know what I'm saying? However, is that really your homie? Because it's actually happened to me recently where I've been like, oh yeah, this is a cool person. This is, you know what I'm saying? We can vibe, we can chill. And it turns out, homie, a whole different person to 5 different other people.
Yeah.
So what my main thing is, you just take the time, even if you feel like, that's not what everybody doing. I'm going to seem stuck up. I'm going to seem me, Make sure you're taking the time to figure out who you're actually surrounding yourself with and who you call friend.
It says it all starts off during your childhood, in my opinion. And, I definitely agree with that, because a lot of times as children, you do that. You make all these friendships and you don't really know the value of friends. So that's all I saw in our chat. I'll intervene as I see more.
I got a question for Julie. Julie, do you feel comfortable digging into that more? I mean, that's really good. So I started thinking about my childhood too, but I don't know if you feel comfortable either typing out more or maybe.
No, I can speak like out loud if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Okay. What I meant like that, I don't know, maybe y'all have depicted it in a different way, but what I meant by that is, growing up, the first 2 people that you love is your mom and your dad. Those are the 2 people that you're supposed to trust them, you care for them, you're supposed to love them. And, not everybody's life is like that. Not everybody has a perfect family where they have their mom and their dad with them to show them that. So I think as you get older, people try to find that trust or that emptiness that they lacked when they were with their parents. And I feel like now us in my generation, we're growing up and it's just like, oh, that's my friend. It's like, it's so much harder because you never had that foundation in the first place to start off with. You never had somebody to say, oh yeah, I genuinely trust them, especially when it comes down to your parents.
We take what we see from our young age. That's how we carry everything. Like if your parents were loving, then most likely you're going to be loving. It's like our first example is kind of how we carry ourselves throughout our entire lives. What is the greatest lesson that you learned in your relationship?
Mine is you cannot control people. I literally learned that through this woman of God right here, okay? Because she's a very strong-willed. She might seem silent and chill. She's a very strong-willed person. I learned that, and then I also learned that as much as I honor my parents, as much as we look up to them, because I'm only highlighting them because they happen to be all of our pastors. My mom said something to me one day. I was really frustrated in my relationship with Adria. I was frustrated in a specific area.
And I was like, well, why can't we do this like you and dad? Da, 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 da. And she said, Chandler, she said, just because you saw me do it doesn't mean it was right. He said, Dad was busy starting the church. It was growing very, very fast. I was hustling and bustling and doing what I could do to help the home and to do this for y'all. He said, but my mom clearly said, she said, just because I did it doesn't mean it was right.
Wow.
And that changed my perspective of partnership. And it stopped me. And as much as I love my father, love my mother, instead of me trying to just walk in their footsteps, I started developing my own footsteps, and we started realizing what works for us. Like, we should be able to judge each other's wrongs and rights based upon our values, our convictions, what she needs from me and what I need from her. It shouldn't take nobody else's 2 cents outside of our marriage for me to say, honey, I need this or I need that. Yep. And there's people shaping their wants and desires. It's not even their desires. They just want this because somebody else has it. And they just want their spouse to do this, or they just want their relationship to be like this because someone else does that. And that ain't even you. Like, you don't even watch the NFL like that. Your wife can bring you wings. It won't mean nothing to you. If you watch the Patriots with Tom Brady and your wife brings some wings, that's a game changer. But if you ain't a football fan, it don't mean nothing. If you care about finances and Excel spreadsheets and all you do is front of the computer, your wife bring you some wings, you're going to look at her like, bring me a calculator. Don't bring me no wings. So I'm just saying, we're having fun with this, but for real, like, I think that was one of the things we learned. So
I would say, like, our unity, how important that is when you're in a relationship. And I think this can go, even from dating to, getting engaged and then getting married. Your unity is very important for you two to be strong together and not be divided together, because as you grow into your relationship, there will be people, naysayers, hearsayers, or just even your own insecurities can get in between your relationship. And so you guys have to have a very strong bond to know that we're not going to break. Like, if God put us together, it's us and God, and that's just it. I have to be okay with it's just me and you. At the end of the day, we riding, we cloud, we riding together. You know what I'm saying? And like Audrea was saying too, I think you have to be unapologetic for who you are in your marriage. Don't apologize for, your relationship and how your relationship looks. Do you in your marriage? What works for your marriage or your relationship? If God is not displeased, it don't matter about nobody else. That's our personal experience and motto. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that's important. Like, just have that unity and just, do y'all that works for y'all and what pleases God.
And you really got to make a decision every day that, like, okay, like, I'm a win this, you know what I'm saying? And it can be tough, especially if you're in a situation where, just even being real, like some of the problems she talked about is we've had family issues and stuff like that, or, differences of opinions of family members and stuff. And when your marriage is one of the first ones in your family that's doing something new or doing something different, that can cause a lot of attacks and stuff like that. And honestly, as much as everybody want to act like, well, I don't care, don't bother me, it can really bother you. It can really break you, because the people you love, of course you want them to be supportive, right. And of course you want them to be happy for you and stuff like that. So it can really mess with you mentally and emotionally. But what I am proud of, like she said, is how, we fought. And honestly, I realized, dang, Chris, like, you're a lot stronger than, like, I already thought I was a strong person, but really, like I see, like, sometimes you got to pat yourself in the back and, like, you know what, you're doing a good job, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're doing what you can, man, and you're making it happen. So I've definitely learned how strong I am. That's one thing I would say I've learned about marriage.
The greatest lesson I learned was to value family. When we first got married, I did not value family. I know y'all see the fam. That's why I said social media. Everybody, I even seen one of my aunts put this. Oh, the perfect family. I'm like, you bugging, because she should know, that this is work that I'm trying to put in on it. But anyway, I didn't value family. And if it wasn't for the Baileys and now my wife and her family, of course, those are the two full families that I seen that I admired. And so I didn't value family. So birthdays was just nothing to me. It wasn't something I made a big deal about. Family reunions, all these different things. And I'm so glad that I started the process early before Aiden and Zoe and Skylar got here, but I really didn't. She wanted to go to the country to see her family. I would never go. Fellas, do not do that. I would never go. I would find some excuse. I'm like, to do what? And they would go down there and laugh. I'm like, you can laugh on the phone. But I was that person. I really was that person. And I didn't understand. I just didn't see it. And that was mostly because I was living life without parents. I was living life without, this construct. I had cousins that would come down and we had all kinds of issues and all this different stuff. And I just didn't value it, right? You remember that? Mm-hmm. And I would be, when she comes back from the country, I would be, y'all, let me tell you how immature I was.
Tell them. Let them know. Let the people know.
She would come back from the country, and if she looked like she was having fun, I'd be like, what y'all was doing? I mean, I was pissed. Y'all, I was pissed. I was like, oh, so y'all was eating good? You brought me a plate? No, I was mad. I was mad, man. I was mad. I was mad how excited she got to go, and Ash was big on her family. So I turned somewhere in the line, I don't even know the year, the date, but somewhere in that mix, I turned into this super family man.
Everybody say, oh, 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 you love me too much, oh, 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 your love is kind. Your love is patient. You fill my heart with so much peace and joy. You're amazing. You make my life feel brand new. Jesus, you're amazing. You make my life feel brand new. Here we go. Jesus, you love me too much, oh. Say, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Yeah. Jesus, you love me too much, oh, too much, oh. Too much, oh, excess love, oh. Yeah. Jesus, you love me too much, oh, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Yeah. Jesus, you love me too much, oh, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Everybody, your love is kind. Yeah, your love is patient. Yeah, you fill my heart with so much peace and joy. Yeah, everybody, you're amazing. You make my life feel brand new. All your promises are yes, yes. Amen. You're not a man, you go. Everybody, Jesus, you love me too much. Oh, say, too much. Oh, too much. Oh, excess love. Oh. Everybody say, you love me too much. Oh, too much. Oh, too much. Oh, excess love. Oh. Yeah. Here we go. Jesus, you love me too much, oh, say too much, oh, excess love, oh. I'm overwhelmed by your love and your grace, say you love me too much, oh, excess love, oh. Here we go, say too much, oh. Too much, oh, excess love, oh. We love you, Jesus, say, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Everybody in the room say, too much, oh. Excess love, oh. I'm overwhelmed by your love and your grace. Say too much, oh, excess love. Oh. Everybody in the room say, your love is amazing. Your love is amazing. Your love is amazing. Your love is amazing. Say your grace is amazing. Your grace is amazing. Your grace is amazing. Your grace is amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing. You're amazing. We declare it. We decree it. We proclaim it. And we say it. You're amazing. You're amazing. We love you. We need you. We adore you. We love you. You're amazing. Jesus, you love me too much, oh, excess love, oh. We love you. Izzy, help me say, you love me too much, oh, say, too much, excess love, oh. Jesus, you love me too much, oh. Everybody say, too much, oh, excess love, oh. Lord, you love me too much, oh, excess love, oh. Yeah, you love me too much, oh, say, too much, oh, excess love, oh. We love you, Jesus. There's nobody like you. You love me too much, oh, excess love, oh. Yeah, now somebody give God praise right there. Come on, right where you are. Yes, we love you, Jesus.